The old way of learning English is to memorize long lists of words and definitions. But when are you ever going to talk about whisks and ladles in your daily life?
No way!
Trust me, there's a better way to become fluent this year.
I'm very excited.
Instead of memorizing words and definitions, you need to learn full phrases and expressions in real speech. And that's what we'll do today. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started. First, we're going to practice listening to real speech. You're going to listen to me say a sentence 3 times, and you need to write down exactly what you hear. After, you'll learn how to use your new vocabulary. Here we go. I'll say it 3 times.
My mom nitpicks like crazy. My mom nitpicks like crazy. My mom nitpicks like crazy. Did you get this one? I said my mom nitpicks like crazy. The pronunciation is clear, but if you don't know what the vocabulary means, you're not going to understand what that native speaker said. Here, our verb is to nitpick. To nitpick. What does this mean? This is when you find faults. Faults are things that you don't like or criticisms. When you find faults in details that are not important. I'm sure you know someone in your life who nitpicks, or maybe you nitpick yourself. Let's say you're with someone and you go out for dinner and the food is great, the restaurant is beautiful, the server is very friendly, but your friend finds faults in details that are not important. Your friend nitpicks. You could say, the dinner was amazing, but of course, Lindsay wasn't happy about the color of the plates or the art on the walls. Lindsay is a nitpicker. So your friend wasn't happy about the color of the plates. That is such a detail that is not important. So this is a perfect example of someone who nitpicks. But notice in my example, I said Lindsay is a nitpicker. A nitpicker. This is the noun form, and a nitpicker is simply someone who nitpicks. The original example was, my mom nitpicks like crazy. Here, like crazy, this simply means a lot or quickly. But in this context, it means a lot. So my mom nitpicks like crazy. My mom nitpicks a lot. You could also say, I worked like crazy all weekend. So you worked a lot all weekend. Let's try this again. I'll say it 3 times. It's okay to be picky sometimes. It's okay to be picky sometimes. It's okay to be picky sometimes. Did you get this one? I said it's okay to be picky sometimes. For pronunciation, notice I use the contraction it's. This is the contraction of it is. It's okay. It's okay to be. But I didn't say it's okay to be picky. I said to be. So an unstressed to. It's okay to be picky. It's okay to be picky. Now don't confuse this expression to be picky with our last expression to nitpick. Yes, they both use the word pick, but they are totally different expressions. This expression, to be picky, this describes someone who has very strong preferences about what they like and don't like. For example, most young kids are picky. I don't know about you, but when I was a young kid, 5 years old, 10 years old, there were many food items that I did not eat. My diet was very simple. I had a small number of things that I liked to eat, and I had a very large number of things that I did not like to eat. So as a child, I was picky when it came to food, when it came to eating. What about you? Were you a picky eater? Were you picky about your food when you were a child? Or maybe you still are right now. Some adults are picky as well. In our original example, I said it's okay to be picky sometimes. It's okay, that means it is acceptable. It's acceptable to be picky, to have those strong preferences about what you like and don't like sometimes. For example, it's okay to be picky when it comes to a job, choosing a job. You should have very strong preferences about what you want that job to have, the qualities of that job, and that's okay. Choosing a job, choosing a house, you should definitely be picky. Have very strong preferences. And choosing a spouse, maybe that's the ultimate one. You should be very picky when you choose a spouse because you're with that person for your entire life. Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, the movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily. Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's continue with our lesson. Let's try this again. I'll say it 3 times. I'm beat, let's call it a day. I'm beat, let's call it a day. I'm beat, let's call it a day. Did you get this one? I said, I'm beat, let's call it a day. Let's talk about the contraction at the beginning. I'm. Of course, this is I am. I'm beat. I'm beat. I'm beat. Let's call it. But with linking, we're going to combine those sounds so it sounds like call it. Call it. So call lit, but then we have to say it as one word. Call it. Call it. Call it a day. Call it a day. Call it a day. I'm beat. Let's call it a day. To be beat, I'm beat. This means to be very tired, to be exhausted. So instead of saying I'm very tired, you can say I'm beat. I'm beat. We're beat. The verb to be. Now let's talk about the expression let's call it a day. To call it a day, this is an expression used to say that you're going to stop working for the day. And you stop working for the day because you've completed enough work, you've done what you've needed to do, or simply because everyone is exhausted, everyone is beat, and it isn't productive anymore to keep working. So maybe it's 3 o'clock and technically the day ends at 5 o'clock, but everyone is so tired, everyone is beat, that they're just not thinking clearly anymore. So you might say, let's call it a day. Let's just stop working for today and we'll get a good night's sleep, we'll come back tomorrow and begin again. You could combine this with our expression like crazy, which means a lot, and you could say, we've been working like crazy all week, let's call it a day. So again, maybe it's Friday at 2 o'clock and technically you're supposed to work until 5, but because you've been working like crazy all week, let's just call it a day and stop working now. Are you ready for another listening exercise? I'll say it 3 times. You shouldn't be so nosy. You shouldn't be so nosy. You shouldn't be so nosy. Did you get this one? I said you shouldn't be so nosy. Here, notice I said shouldn't, you shouldn't be. This is a contraction of should not, shouldn't. You shouldn't be, you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be so nosy. What does this mean? To be nosy, to be nosy. This is used to say that you're interested in what other people are doing or saying when you have no right to be interested in that. You have no right to know what other people are saying or doing because it doesn't involve you. A lot of people are nosy when it comes to their significant other's cell phone. They want to know what their significant other is looking at online, who they're talking to, who they're texting with, but ultimately, you have no right to that knowledge because that's your significant other's personal privacy. So if your significant other leaves their phone and goes to the bathroom or goes to another room and you pick up the phone and you try to look at it without them knowing, you are being nosy. And that's when someone can say, you shouldn't be so nosy. Let's try this one more time. I'll say it 3 times. Being nosy is one of my pet peeves. Being nosy is one of my pet peeves. Being nosy is one of my pet peeves. Did you get this one? I said being nosy is one of my pet peeves. And now you know what nosy means, so I don't have to explain that. Being nosy. Notice how this is a gerund statement. A sentence that starts with a gerund verb, a verb in ing. Being nosy. Gerund statements are used to make general statements. So in general, being nosy is one of my pet peeves. What is a pet peeve? A pet peeve is something that especially annoys you. So there are many things that annoy you, but a pet peeve is whenever that one thing happens, it really annoys you. So I Googled this, and according to Google, the top 3 pet peeves, things that especially annoy people, the top 3 pet peeves are loud chewing. So if your coworker is, or your kids, your husband or wife, loud chewing. Is that one of your pet peeves? Number 2, according to Google, is bad manners. So if you have bad manners, it means you're not polite. So if someone holds the door open for you in North America, it's considered polite to say thank you to that person. So if you hold a door open for someone and the other person, they go right in and they don't say thank you to you, that would be an example of bad manners in North America. And the person who held the door open would be annoyed because that's one of their pet peeves. And number 3, according to Google, is clutter. Clutter describes when a room is very disorganized or messy. So if there were things all over my office, papers everywhere, things were not neat and organized, that would be clutter. What about you? What's your pet peeve? Share your pet peeve in the comments below. Now let's do an imitation exercise where you're going to imitate my pronunciation. So you're going to listen to me say the sentence, and then you are going to repeat the sentence out loud. So say the sentence out loud and try to match my pronunciation. And then you'll repeat that 3 times for each sentence. So let's do that right now. My mom nitpicks like crazy. My mom nitpicks like crazy. My mom nitpicks like crazy. It's okay to be picky sometimes. It's okay to be picky sometimes. It's okay to be picky sometimes. I'm beat, let's call it a day. I'm beat, let's call it a day. I'm beat, let's call it a day. You shouldn't be so nosy. You shouldn't be so nosy. You shouldn't be so nosy. Being nosy is one of my pet peeves. Being nosy is one of my pet peeves. Being nosy is one of my pet peeves.
Now let's focus on phrasal verbs because natives love using them. You'll learn 15 common phrasal verbs in context, and you'll review real-world examples. Remember that phrasal verbs have multiple meanings depending on context. So I'll show you the phrasal verb and then I'll give you an example sentence so you can see how that phrasal verb is being used. Our first phrasal verb, pull off. I know the team can pull it off. Pull off. Do you know this one? In this context, to pull off means to succeed in doing something difficult or unexpected. For example, getting a high mark on your IELTS is challenging, but I know you'll pull it off. So notice here, I know you'll pull it off. Here it means I know you'll succeed at getting a high mark on your IELTS. How about this one? If you have a great teacher, I know I'll pull it off. Maybe that's something you would say. I know I'll pull it off. I will be successful if I have a great teacher. And I hope I'm that great teacher for you. If you agree with that, put that's right, I'll pull it off. With Jennifer's help, put that's right in the comments. And don't worry about taking notes because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. Now let's listen to some real-world examples using this phrasal verb.
Is it something you really managed to pull off, or does the Middle East really still have us kind of sucked in?
So, how did Ukraine pull off such a stunning attack?
It requires a bit of confidence to pull off.
Our next phrasal verb, take off. Sarah's online store really took off. Do you know what this means? Take off. This means to become successful or popular. For example, my YouTube channel didn't take off at first. It wasn't successful or popular at first, but I was persistent and consistent, and eventually it took off. Eventually, it became successful. I could also say, and eventually, I pulled it off. I pulled it off. And in this case, it represents creating and growing a successful YouTube channel. Or I could say to you, if you're consistent, your English fluency and confidence will take off. Do you agree with that? Well, put that's right, put that's right in the comments. Now let's listen to some real-world examples using this phrasal verb.
Just at the point where your career is starting to take off, you're taking on seniority.
After the trial, she was able to move away to Florence, and that's where we really see her career kind of take off.
But once you look at that 10-year mark and beyond, that's where things really start to take off.
Next, put off. She put off scheduling her IELTS. Do you know what put off means? This means to delay or postpone doing something. She put off scheduling her IELTS until she mastered phrasal verbs. Now this means she'll schedule her IELTS once she masters phrasal verbs. You might say, let's put off the meeting, let's delay the meeting until after the long weekend.
Or your husband or roommate might ask you, are we still cleaning out the garage this weekend? And you can say, let's put it off until winter. Let's delay it until winter. Let's listen to some real-world examples.
Do you put off writing a paper until the last minute?
Just an idea being put off for a better time that never came.
20s, and I think it's such a waste when people just put off their vacation or travel plans.
Next, turn around. How did you turn around your online store? Do you know what this means? To turn around, this means to take a business plan or system from not successful to successful. For example, the new manager turned the marketing department around. So to turn something around, to take the marketing department from not successful to successful. Or she turned around her speaking skills by practicing speaking every day. And you can add to this and say her excellent communication skills helped her career take off, become successful. Let's listen to some real-world examples.
I'm hoping we can turn it around.
Of accommodation that has turned the business, turned it around.
Our economy in peril. We turned it around.
Our next phrasal verb, call off. Do you know why the meeting was called off? Do you know what this means? To call off, this means to cancel something that was planned or scheduled. For example, the company had to call off the conference, cancel the conference because of the hurricane. Now let's compare this sentence to one with put off. Remember, put off means delay. The company had to put off the conference because of the hurricane. Do you know the difference between these two sentences? In the first example with call off, the conference will not happen. It is canceled. But in the second example with put off, the conference will happen, but at a later date. Or you could say she called off her birthday party when she got sick. She canceled it. She didn't put it off, she called it off. Let's listen to some real-world examples.
As violence, they began to receive threats to call off their events.
After 2 hours, the Mamluks call off their attack and retreat.
So we decided to call off the wedding at the last minute.
How are you doing with these phrasal verbs so far? Our next phrasal verb, to catch up on. I spent the whole day catching up on emails. Do you know what this means? To catch up on, this means to do something that you haven't been able to do recently. For example, I need to catch up on your lessons. Maybe you say that to me or to your teacher or your piano instructor. This means you haven't been able to review the lessons recently, so now you have many lessons to review and you need to catch up on them. You need to watch all the lessons you haven't reviewed. Or you could say, this weekend, I caught up on my chores. I did all the chores I haven't been able to do because I was too busy doing other things, so I put them off. But this weekend, I caught up on them. Let's listen to some real-world examples.
Anyone that wants to catch up on that part of the story can go back and watch our original interview, which they should do anyway.
Because it feels like a way to catch up on social media or read something.
Let's have this down period. Catch up on email, go home at a regular time.
Our next phrasal verb, blurt out. I can't believe I blurted that out in front of my boss. Do you know what this means? To blurt out. This is when you say something suddenly without thinking, often something that shouldn't have been said. For example, let's say you're in a meeting and you're discussing a strategy or a goal and you say, there's no way we'll pull that off. There's no way we'll be successful. And then later in the meeting, you can say, oh, why did I blurt that out? I have such a big mouth.
So this is an expression to have a big mouth. Someone who has a big mouth often says things they shouldn't say because they don't think before they speak. So people with big mouths often blurt things out. Or maybe your coworker is looking for a new job, but it was a secret. But then you say to your coworker, I accidentally blurted out that you're looking for a new job. So you said it suddenly without thinking. Let's listen to some real world examples.
Further, when girls blurt out answers without raising their hands.
One of you, so what's your story? Can you just blurt out a 30-second story?
His first reflex was not to blurt out what was going on.
Next, comb through. Do you have time to comb through this report? Do you know what this means? To comb through. And notice that B is silent. Comb. Comb through. This means to analyze or review something carefully and completely. Before you submit your CV, you should comb through it to make sure there are no errors. That's always good advice. Or, I combed through this entire textbook to prepare for my IELTS. You reviewed it entirely and completely. She spent the whole afternoon combing through old family photos to create a scrapbook. Let's listen to some real-world examples.
Help NASA kind of comb through our data.
So I went back to my staff, let's comb through this.
Go comb through their website.
Next, skim through. I only had enough time to skim through the report. Do you know what this means? To skim through. This means to review something quickly without going into detail. So you can think of it as the opposite of comb through. For example, the consultant has an impressive background, but I only skimmed through his proposal. I didn't read it fully. She skimmed through the recipe to make sure she had all the ingredients. So she looked at it quickly, not fully. Let's listen to some real-world examples.
Can't sort of skim through it.
And I'm just going to skim through, hit a couple of the highlights.
Read the class syllabus, skim through textbooks, and review all the materials.
Next, gloss over. The consultant glossed over the budget increase. Do you know what this means? To gloss over, this means to briefly mention something without going into detail. And you do this often to avoid discussing it thoroughly. For example, the manager glossed over the consultant's rude comment. So how could he gloss over this rude comment? Maybe he's in the middle of a meeting and he says to the consultant, who remember said something rude, he says to him, I appreciate your perspective. Anyway, let's review the upcoming conference. So he mentioned it briefly, but then he quickly moved on to something else because he didn't want to spend time reviewing that negative comment. How about this one? My brother always glosses over why his girlfriend doesn't come to family gatherings. He mentions it quickly, but then moves on to a different topic on purpose because he doesn't want to discuss it. He glosses over it. Let's listen to some real-world examples.
Love this stuff, so I didn't want to gloss over anything.
In the early days, I would gloss over my family's experience.
I'll have to gloss over or omit many formal details.
Next, pan out. The speaker we wanted didn't pan out. Do you know what this means? To pan out, this means to have a successful outcome. The strategy didn't pan out. This means the strategy wasn't successful, didn't have a successful outcome. So we need to revise our approach. Or you could say to your spouse or roommate or family member, let's see how our kitchen reno pans out before we start the bathroom. Reno is short for renovation, so you're renovating your kitchen. Let's see how it pans out. Let's see how successful it is before we start another renovation. Let's listen to some real-world examples.
Another reason why this learning styles theory doesn't pan out.
And in that way, in case there were any failures, in case things didn't pan out.
We're excited to see how the metrics of those pan out.
Our next phrasal verb, drift off. I think I drifted off during the presentation. Do you know what this means? To drift off. This means to gradually become less focused or to fall asleep unintentionally, not on purpose, often while engaged in another activity. Here's a real example. Sometimes I drift off when my husband starts talking about his work. Now in this case, I don't fall asleep, but I gradually stop paying attention to my husband and I start just paying attention to other things. We have another expression, my mind wanders. I drift off because my husband's work is very technical and often I don't really understand what he's saying. So I drift off. You could also say, I must have drifted off during the movie. Now this could mean that you stopped paying attention to the movie and you started paying attention to other things, or quite likely, you fell asleep during the movie and you didn't even realize that it ended. And hours later, you're asleep on your couch and the movie is over and you had no idea. You drifted off. Let's listen to some real-world examples.
Listening to the sound of the ocean as you slowly drift off to sleep.
It might feel nice for a while to drift off into past memories.
Eventually, Henry began to drift off for the last time.
Next, dip into. We had to dip into our emergency fund to make payroll. Do you understand this one? To dip into, this means to spend a portion of a reserve or saving, often temporarily. So you have this reserve or saving, and if you dip into it, you take a portion, some of that money out. So this is used specifically with spending money. For example, the company had to dip into its emergency fund, so take a portion of that fund to cover the unexpected expenses. Or we had to dip into our savings to cover the cost of the car repair. Let's listen to some real-world examples.
The House had initially proposed a $2,700 payout, but couldn't muster the votes required to dip into savings to pay for it.
But there are other proposals to dip into it, one for a school loan construction fund.
And therefore, I don't need to dip into my savings.
Our next phrasal verb, pick up. I pick up a lot of English expressions by watching TV. Do you know what this means? In this context, pick up means to learn something informally or casually, often through exposure rather than instruction. So right now, you're not picking up these phrasal verbs. I'm teaching them to you. This is formal instruction. But if you're watching a TV show and you hear the speaker say a phrasal verb in speech and you learn the meaning of that phrasal verb from that TV show, you just picked up that phrasal verb, which is a great way to learn. Or maybe you have a great skill, you know how to code, and someone asks you, did you take coding classes? And you say, no, I just picked it up over the years. So you were exposed to coding and you just learned it gradually from being exposed to it. You didn't take formal classes or have formal instruction. Let's listen to some real-world examples.
Turning to LinkedIn Learning more than ever to pick up new skills.
Find people with similar hobbies and pick up new interests.
It's not uncommon for humans to pick up new accents.
How about this phrasal verb, shake off? If you make a mistake, just shake it off. Do you know this one? If you're a Taylor Swift fan, you probably do. Shake off. This means to get rid of something such as a problem or mistake and move on from it. So you can imagine the problem is right here and you just shake it off, shake it off. This is commonly used in sports. The coach might say to the team, we're down 3 points, which means we're losing by 3 points. We're down 3 points. We need to shake it off and play better than ever. So this means not let the fact that we're losing affect us. We need to forget about it and play better than ever. Or you could say, I know I made a few grammar mistakes during my spoken exam, but I just shook them off and I passed, which is a great reminder that you can make mistakes and still pull it off, still be successful.
And they shake off criticism with a flip of the wig.
So my challenge is that we share and we shake off those narratives.
It had developed a reputation as the king of knockoffs, and it couldn't shake the reputation of being a copycat.
Let's keep learning natural expressions in context. Now we're going to do something fun. We're going to review a conversation I had with two girlfriends. And this conversation is about scheduling a dinner with friends.
Here's a picture of me with my two close friends, so you can put a face to the name. On the left, we have my friend Harminder, but she goes by the name Harm, and she's an engineer. And on the right, we have my friend Melissa. She has her PhD and she is doing a research fellowship. So these are my friends and we're scheduling a get together. Let's review the email. Melissa lives in a different city, so she sent Harm and I an email letting us know that she's coming to town and she wanted to schedule a get together. So let's review this email from Melissa. Hi, ladies. Hope you're both doing well. Spring is just around the corner now. This is a nice expression here. Spring is just around the corner. The expression is to be, so our verb to be, spring is just around the corner. Just is optional, but it is very commonly used. And this means happening soon or almost here. So it's just another way of saying spring is almost here. Spring is happening soon. You can use this expression in any situation. In a work context, you could say our annual reviews. Now notice I'm using are because reviews is plural. So we need to conjugate our verb to be. Our annual reviews are just around the corner, which means happening soon. Now notice, we don't put an S or make corner plural. We only conjugate our verb to be. Everything else remains the same. So if you think about any event, you could use this expression. My vacation is just around the corner. That could be a good one to use. All right, let's continue on. Spring is just around the corner now. Just wanted to give you a heads up. This is a great expression here. To give someone a heads up, let me write that out. To give someone a heads up. To give someone a heads up. This is when you give someone advanced knowledge or information on a specific topic. So knowledge, information on a specific topic. So in this case, a specific topic is that I'll be in Ottawa, where Harm and I live, in a few weeks. So the actual event is happening in a few weeks, 2-3 weeks. But she's letting us know now. So she's giving us the knowledge, the information in advance so we can plan ahead, so we can look in our calendars and make sure we're free. So you might say to your boss, just a heads up that our annual reviews, is that what I said? Annual reviews? Yeah. Just a heads up that our annual reviews are just around the corner. Just around the corner. Now, because I use just in the expression, I might get rid of it here, but it is common to use just a heads up. But you could just say heads up that our annual reviews are just around the corner. Heads up. Heads up. So I'm letting my boss know now so he can prepare for it. So very, very common expression. So she'll be in Ottawa in a few weeks. She gave us a heads up. I would love to see you if you aren't somewhere warm and tropical. This is a little joke because Canadians frequently go on vacation in the winter to a tropical place because it's so cold in Canada. So this is just a little joke. Okay, let's continue on with Melissa's email. If you happen to be available on Saturday, March 18th, that would work perfectly. Let's take a look at this expression. We're using the verb happen, but it's followed by an infinitive. If you happen to be available. This means to do or be by chance. So for example, if you happen to see Maria, can you give her a heads up that the annual reviews are, what's our expression? Are just around the corner. This is a very long sentence, but I wanted to use all of our expressions. So let me just put this up here. There's no room. If you happen to see Maria, so happen and then our infinitive. This means that you're not planning to see Maria. It just happens by chance. Okay, so you don't have a meeting scheduled with Maria. But maybe you work in the same building and you frequently see Maria. So this is likely. If you happen to see Maria, can you give her a heads up, advanced information that the annual reviews are just around the corner, that the annual reviews are happening soon? Now, Melissa included this, if you happen to be available on Saturday, just as a way of saying, I understand that you might not be available. So if by chance you're available on Saturday, March 18th, that would work perfectly. As I have to make a presentation that afternoon, and then the next morning, early afternoon, I'll be heading back to TO. TO means Toronto. It's just the short way of saying Toronto, where Melissa lives. Now notice the expression she used, head back to. Head back to. This is the more informal, casual way of saying returning to Toronto or going back to. I'll be heading back to Toronto. So you can use this when you're not at your home location, even if you're at the store and you're going home. You can say, I'll be heading back home soon. So you can use that in lots of situations. If you'd rather do an early brunch on the 19th, that might also be a possibility. So she's giving us an alternative if Saturday doesn't work. Then she suggested an alternative, which is brunch on the 19th. Brunch, Americans love brunch, okay? I know some students in other parts of the world, they're not really familiar with brunch, what it is. So brunch, we have breakfast, lunch, dinner, right? These are our three main meals. Brunch is a combination of breakfast and lunch. So brunch, that's why we take the unch from lunch, but we put the B from breakfast, brunch. So it's a combination of breakfast, lunch, food items, and it usually takes place between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and it's very commonly held on Sundays. So most restaurants will have a brunch menu on Sundays only, and that menu is available from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and you can have breakfast or lunch items, or they combine those items. Does brunch exist where you live? Let me know in the comments. I want to know. Okay, so that was, still on. Fingers crossed. This is when we hope something happens. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. So if you're taking your IELTS exam, I would say fingers crossed you pass. I hope you passed. So let me just highlight this. Now, also keep in mind, all the notes I'm taking, you can download the lesson PDF. It will be in the comment section below. So fingers crossed, to say you hope something happens, fingers crossed we'll be able to organize an Ottawa rendezvous. This is a French word, but we commonly use it to say get together. An Ottawa get together. That would be the English version of the word rendezvous. Get together. Okay. Miss you both, Melissa. Aw, so sweet. Now, Harm replied to the email. You replied to an email. So let me just write that. Harm replied to the email first. She was faster than me. And let's see what she said. Hi, Melissa. So nice to hear from you and so excited you're coming to town. When you come to town, this is just a way of saying you're coming to my location. Ottawa is not a town. It's a city. So it doesn't matter if the size of your city is quite small or large. We use it for any size. It's just an expression. Coming to town means coming to the place where you are. Okay. Sunday brunch would work best. Okay, so Harm wants to have Sunday brunch, but also I can make Saturday work too. So Harm prefers Sunday, would work best, work best. I hope you're noticing these expressions, work best, but I can also make Saturday work too. All right, that's from Harm. Now, from me, then I reply, that's awesome. I'm so glad you're coming. So my that's awesome, well, it's explained right here. It's the fact that Melissa is coming. So that's awesome. You could use a different adjective. That's amazing. That's fabulous. That's wonderful. These are some alternatives. I like the word awesome. That's the one I always use. Notice the contraction. That is, that's awesome. So just to express good news, that's awesome. So if you told me you passed your IELTS, that's awesome. I'm so glad you passed your IELTS. I'm so glad you're coming to town. You're coming. I'm actually the opposite of Harm. Uh-oh, difficulty here. I'm being difficult. So what was Harm? Harm wanted to meet for Sunday brunch. She said that would work best. But I'm saying, actually, I'm the opposite. So that means Saturday works best. Saturday works best for me. Okay. I write it right here. I'm the opposite of Harm, LOL, laugh out loud, right? Saturday would be best. Notice in our messages, we commonly use would be best just to express that hypothetical. But I could also say Saturday works best for me. I didn't write it, but you can definitely include that. You can even include it here. Saturday would be best for me. There's no difference in meaning between these two. They both convey the same message. I prefer Saturday, but just grammatically, they're a little bit different. Oh, sorry. Saturday, that should just be Saturday. Works best. So because Saturday is a singular day, I need my S on works, right? If I said those days, that would be plural. Those days work best for me. Okay? So now my verb would be conjugated with those days, which is plural. But I can make Sunday work. Okay, so I'm the opposite of Harm. So because Harm and I don't agree, we don't see eye to eye, that's a good expression, I turned it to Melissa to make the decision. What's best for you, Melissa? Oh, kind of sneaky of me. I put Melissa in the difficult position of having to decide. What's best for you, Melissa? Now, you could also say, this is very common, but you could also say, what works best for you, Melissa? Or I could say, what would be best for you, Melissa? All of these have the exact same meaning. So some nice alternatives for you. Now, what does Melissa say? What do you guys think? Saturday or Sunday brunch? Hi, Jennifer and Harm. Saturday evening, the 18th, would be ideal as I won't have too much time the next morning before my train. Okay, so she will be rushed on Sunday, so it would be difficult for her to have brunch. I believe it leaves around noon. Yeah, that would be difficult because we would have to meet at 9:30, 10 a.m. No, even earlier, because if it leaves at noon, she would have to be at the train station at noon. So she'd probably have to leave the restaurant around 11 a.m. That would not leave a lot of time. Now notice she said it leaves around noon, even though we're talking about a future day, 3 weeks in the future. Why did she use the present simple? The it is the train, right? So my train leaves around noon, but this is 3 weeks from today. So this is in the future, right? So why did she use the present simple? Because we use the present simple in the future for one very specific situation, and that's timetable events, or you could consider it a scheduled event. So your transportation, your planes, your trains, your boats, major transportation, you have a ticket with a departure time. So even if your trip is next month, you would still say, my flight leaves at 6 a.m. next month, even if it's in the future, because we use the present simple. I'll write that for you. Present simple. Oops, not present time. Present simple for timetable events or scheduled events in the future. Okay, so that's why she said it leaves around noon. She goes on to say, I'm off to Denver. When you're going somewhere, Denver, Colorado is the place where she's going in the United States. I'm off to. This is a great expression. So when you're leaving to go somewhere, you could say, I'm off to the store. See you soon. I'm off to the conference. See you next week. Okay? I'm off to, and then the location where you're going. This is an excellent expression. Now notice the verb to be, because if it is you and your friend or coworker, you would say we are, which I would write as a contraction. We're off to the conference. See you next week. I'm off to Denver on the 21st of March, so that only gives me 1 day to pack, etc. So pack, whatever else she needs to do between trips. If this weren't the case, I would have tried to extend my stay in Ottawa by another day. So she's giving us the reason why she has to leave so early on Sunday, and it's not possible to have brunch on Sunday, basically. No pressure at all, but it would be fun to meet up all together. We commonly put the preposition up with meet when we're getting together with friends. Do you want to meet up tonight? You could also say meet. It's one of those phrasal verbs that are optional and has the same meaning. You want to meet up tonight? Now, I wrote this the way I would write this to a friend because we commonly leave out unnecessary words like auxiliary verbs. Do you want to meet up tonight? Do you want to meet tonight? Okay, they have the exact same meaning. But I would use this with social situations. That being said, Harm, if you can't make it on Saturday, perhaps we can grab a quick coffee on Sunday morning before I take off. Take off is a casual way of saying leave. Leave. Now, a lot of students know this one because your flight takes off, right? That is the expression we use. My flight takes off around noon. My flight leaves around noon. And notice this is in the present simple because it's a scheduled event. Grab is a common casual way of saying have. Have. We can have a quick coffee. We can grab a quick coffee. It's a casual way. We commonly use it though with friends or in casual social situations. Whatever works best. And remember, I told you optionally, you can say whatever works best for you, or in this case, because she's talking to Harm and me, she could say you ladies, whatever works best for you, whatever works best for you ladies, to include both of us, but whatever works best for you. I'm so excited to see you both. All right, so what do we do? Do we get together on Saturday or Sunday? So this is from Harm. Sounds great. I'm in for Saturday night. So Harm changed her mind and she decided she can meet up on Saturday night. Notice, I'm in for Saturday night. This is a casual way of accepting something. Do you want to go to the movies tomorrow? Sure, I'm in. Sure, I'm in. So it's just a very casual way of accepting a casual social invitation. I'm in. I'm in. Looking forward to seeing you ladies. Now notice, to and then our verb ing, because to is functioning as a preposition and we use gerund verbs after prepositions. I see a lot of mistakes with this expression, even though it's one of the most common expressions in English, but I see mistakes. Looking forward to going on vacation. I had to think of something that I'm looking forward to. Looking forward to going on vacation. Looking forward to buying a new car, whatever it might be. And then I should point out, because it's not included, it's I'm. So it's to be looking forward to because it's taking place right now. I'm looking forward to buying a new car. So don't forget that gerund verb. So Harm's in for Saturday. And what do I say? Awesome. How about Fhrasal Cafe in the market? The market is an area in Ottawa. Okay, so this is just an area of the city. It's called the market. Area of the city. So I said awesome. I told you guys I like the word awesome, right? So I used it again. Awesome. How about? I'm using this to suggest. How about Fhrasal Cafe? So we're meeting for dinner on Saturday night. I'm suggesting a restaurant. It's a Middle Eastern restaurant called Fhrasal Cafe in the market. And then I shared the menu so they can look at the menu and see if they want that type of food. And then I added, happy to go anywhere though. What does this mean? Happy to go anywhere though. I suggested Fhrasal Cafe, but I want them to know if Melissa really wanted to go to a different restaurant or Harm really wanted to. That's fine by me. I left out the subject and the verb to be, very common in casual conversation. I'm happy to go anywhere though. We add though at the end of a sentence to suggest there's some kind of contrast. The contrast is, I want to go to Farouz Cafe. That's my choice. But if Harm doesn't, that's okay. So there's that contrast there. When you use a but or however, you can add though at the end and then a little smiley face. Just to let them know I won't be upset if they don't like the food at Farouz. Okay. And then Melissa said, hi ladies, so great that we can all meet up. She could have said meet, the up is optional, on the 18th. Farouz sounds awesome. It's been on my list for ages. So for ages, this is a great time reference and it means for a long time. Now notice the verb tense. What verb tense did Melissa use? It has been, which is the present perfect, because she put it on her list of places she wants to go or try. She put it on her list 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, and it's been on her list ever since. So we use the present perfect for an action that starts in the past and continues until now. It's still on her list. That being said, I'm up for whatever. So Melissa is doing the same thing because Harm hasn't told us if she wants Farouz or a different restaurant. So Melissa is also saying, if you don't want to go to Farouz, that's okay with me. I'm up for whatever. To be up for something, this is a very casual expression, to be up for something. This means to be willing to do or try something. Okay? So you might say, I'm up for going to the movies tonight. So a friend might say, oh, do you want to go to the movies? I'm up for it. I'm up for going to the movies. I'm up for it, which means I'm willing to go to the movies. I'm accepting it, basically. I'm up for it. I'm up for that. And then finally, what does Harm say? Works for me. We've used this a lot. Now remember, in this message, we have dropped a lot of subjects and auxiliary verbs. That works for me. I can't wait. Very common to just drop these unnecessary words. That works for me too. Works for me. And she's adding the S here because even though she didn't include the subject is singular. So she's still conjugating her verb correctly even though she didn't include the subject. Works for me too. Can't wait. And then I think I wrote awesome, my favorite word. Awesome. I booked Farouz for 7 p.m. And then that's it. I booked. Book, when you book a reservation, when you book a ticket, it means you make a reservation. You make a reservation or you confirm a scheduled event. Like a scheduled event could be your airfare, for example. I booked my flight. So you confirmed that scheduled event. You purchased your ticket, basically. I booked my flight. I booked Farouz. I made the reservation. Now, you can absolutely use book for restaurants, extremely common, but it is also common to say, I made a reservation at Farouz. If you use make a reservation, you have to use at and then the name of the restaurant. I made a reservation at Farouz. So obviously it's a lot easier to just say book. And this is in the past simple because it's a completed action. I booked Farouz for 7. I booked my flight. So this is still in the future at the time I'm recording this. I am very excited to see my friends and go to Farouz Cafe, and I hope you learned a lot of natural vocabulary to help you schedule your next visit with your friends.
So do you like this new way of improving your fluency? If you do, put let's go, put let's go in the comments. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And I have another lesson I know you'll love, so make sure you watch it right now.